up, Connor? Thank you so much for jumping on the AIM podcast.
Hey, Doug. Thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely, man. This is dope. Reconnecting with you. We kind of go way back, but it's good to be back on, talking, connecting, and excited to see everything you accomplished this year at Stanford.
Yeah, thank you, dude. It was when you reached out, I was like, man, this is a huge throwback from elementary and middle school together at St. Timothy's. But I listened to some of the pods you did. Really excited, really believe in the brand, and excited to be on.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I appreciate it. I'm excited to be talking to a fellow podcaster. We won't get super into it right now, but you have your own podcast and you're crushing it, and definitely want to touch on that kind of towards the end. But always good to talk to someone who has a podcast and is doing crazy, awesome things.
I do. I have my own microphone too. Hopefully you can keep the quality up. Half step pod. I'm sure we'll talk about that at the end though. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Well, let's just jump in from the start. I think it's important. I'm excited about you coming on as a guest. I think you've got a really cool story. Obviously, you're running at a very elite level collegiately, and I just want to jump in kind of from where we started as friends, and then getting up to where you are now at Stanford, and just kind of sharing your story.
Yeah. Well, I can kind of start at the beginning. It was around middle school, I think, when we knew each other. I joke with my friends on the team a lot that there's really only like one or two ways people get into running or track and field as a whole. You're usually like, for cross country runners, it's usually because you got cut from your soccer or basketball or hockey team or whatever it is. For me, it was ice hockey. For a lot of my friends, it was soccer. And your skill set was very aerobic based, and all of a sudden you're looking for something to do, and running kind of fills that. I was still playing ice hockey when I started running, but I very quickly figured out that running was the thing I was better at when I stopped making like AA, AAA, single A hockey teams, the travel teams in the North Carolina area. And I realized, okay, I might not be going to the league for the NHL. Running was something that I really enjoyed as well. I was good at, and also I was good at it, but I also really fundamentally enjoyed the activity. And I think that's super important. So yeah, got deeper into running in middle school, really started in 5th and 6th grade with the middle school cross country team. And then I ended up doing a club team. In 7th grade, we won the little junior national Olympic thing for cross country in South Carolina with Triangle Champions Track Club. I remember that. And yeah, just a slow progression, 7th, 8th grade into high school at Cardinal Gibbons in North Carolina. And that was maybe a big transition point. But yeah, it all kind of started in middle school, just doing fun road races in the area, the spring sprint at St. Timothy's and that kind of thing. That's when I really started, I think, to fall in love with the sport.
No, that's incredible. And I think it's pretty interesting the way you kind of set that up, and how it was not necessarily your initial plan, right? But it was something that kind of came together. You realized your skill set, and it's something you ended up finding, maybe not initially, but it's something you really enjoyed, and look where it's taking you now. I think that's incredible.
Yeah. I think if I'm being honest, a lot of runners, you start enjoying running because you are good at it right away. I think the biggest question you get as a runner is, why do you run? Like, why you can't possibly enjoy doing that? And I genuinely do, but I think early on, you wouldn't continue to do it if you didn't have at least some natural talent in it. And I don't want to gloss over that or pretend that it's just like, no, I absolutely love the grind from when I was 10 years old on. I think, I've looked within myself. I found that, yeah, of course, there's definitely some ego to it, or some, hey, I'm pretty good at this. But at the same time, that doesn't get you very far once you get to high school and you're racing guys who are better, and then college and you're racing guys who are better, and then ideally the pro level and you're racing guys who are better. At a certain point, you need to fall in love with the other components of the sport. So, but definitely early on, when it's just all fun and games, it's cool to be winning your little local races and that kind of thing.
Yeah. No doubt. So talk about kind of that transition to high school. Obviously, I'm sure that was a jump, and you crushed it. You had an incredible high school career. I know you broke a lot of records. I think you were, if I'm not mistaken, you were the Gatorade High School Runner of the Year, or North Carolina. Is that correct?
Yeah, North Carolina. My senior year in cross country and track. That was very cool. Yeah. I only got that in track though because the guy who, I think he went to NC State, there was a 100-meter, 200-meter specialist at the state meet who was going to win all the sprint events. And he, I think, injured himself in the 100 and then didn't run the 200. And so because of that, I think I won the little race for Gatorade Player of the Year off of that. He was probably better than me. But yeah, in cross country and track, that was really fun. going into Cardinal Gibbons, there's a really great cross country track and field coach there, Nick Mangum. He's basically like a second dad to me, behind my own dad. He ran at NC State in the early 2000s, late 90s. NC State has a legendary cross country coach in Raleigh Geiger. And so my high school coach had a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge from just training under him and coaching for a while. I think that's really crucial. Coach Mangum struck the perfect balance of, when you have a talented kid come in, and there's been a lot that have gone through Gibbons, you need someone who's going to structure them to the point where they get the most out of themselves, but also not overwhelm them like some high school coaches will do because they don't know any better and burn the kid out by the time they get to college. Coach Mangum let me fall in love with the sport. He didn't push me really ever. It was just always as much as I wanted to do. And I think that's super important in athletes. And the number one skill transitioning to college, you probably know this playing at Western, at a certain point, it comes down to you, and no one's going to make you get in the weight room or go on your runs, or, give that, especially in running, give that extra little bit at the end of a race where you've reached a point in the race where if you fell off the group, if you slowed down, like no one's going to get that mad at you. You tried your hardest. Like no one can actually tell. Your parents can't step in and make you, your coaches can't step in and make you do that extra little bit. So I think that was a place where I really kind of developed that own instinct that I had. And it was a huge credit to him. We had a lot of success together. We won a bunch of stuff as a team, and me as an individual, I was really fortunate to have him and a successful high school career that led to going to Stanford. Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. I love that. And I think that's something that's so true. Like it's the mindset of just like pushing yourself, beyond what other people are trying to get you to do is important, because a lot of times people are like, oh, I can just get by as long as I'm, doing an all right job. But like, if you really want to be the best, like you have to dig down deep. You have to fix your mindset before anything else. And it's got to be, I'm going to push myself when no one's watching. I'm going to grind, and it's not for anyone else, but it's for me. And I know that's how you get to the top of anything, whether it be sports, business, life, relationships. Like that's got to be the mindset.
No, yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. It comes down to yourself. Yeah, definitely.
Sweet, man. Well, talk a little bit about the kind of the recruiting process. I'm sure Gibbons was a great place for you to run and get a lot of exposure. You ended up at Stanford, which is an incredible school. So talk about that. What kind of went into that decision, and maybe some of the other opportunities you were exploring as well.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been pretty much 5 years now since that whole process. In a lot of ways, it feels like yesterday. Maybe that's because of the pandemic and everything, making time kind of stand still. But yeah, cross country and track, like a lot of sports, you're making a lot of your college decisions. You're definitely starting that process as early as your sophomore year. And then you're doing a lot of talking to coaches during your junior year, if you're smart about it. And then your senior year is when you take your officials, and then you try to decide by like early November, late October of your senior year, if you can, for that early signing period. And I was pretty similar. I was definitely proactive with the emails to college coaches and that kind of thing, letting them know my times and what I saw for myself the next couple of years and what I saw in their program. I would definitely encourage kids to do that no matter what the sport is, emailing and reaching out early. Grant and I, my co-host on the Half Step Pod, we're going to be doing a college recruiting episode pretty soon, kind of talking about different ways to contact coaches and what you should and shouldn't do. So looking forward to that. It's a little bit boring to get into all the details with, but my process was, the goal was just to run as well as I could to give myself as many opportunities as I could. I had an injury the winter of my junior year that took me out of the cross country national meets that are big, like recruiting, places, the Foot Locker and Nike nationals, that kind of stuff. So I didn't really get an opportunity to show my quality versus other guys. And the national meets I did get to run in the spring, I didn't do that great in. But then my state meet, I finally won a state title. I ran like 906 or 907 in the 3200, which was very good. But yeah, that's not like good enough probably to go to Stanford. So that summer I was one of the guys that they were talking to once the recruiting period opened, but I wasn't a top guy for them by any means. And I remember just talking to the head coach, and it was a huge deal when he offered me an official, because that was a huge jump. He no longer coaches at Stanford. He coached at Chapel Hill, actually.
Wow.
And so does his assistant. But I remember him telling me that a big reason why they had me out there, I was fast, like I wasn't out of the range to go there, but I wasn't like some of the guys they were bringing out. I wasn't a top 5, top 10 guy in the country.
Right.
But he said a big reason why he brought me out was because of my mentality and what I conveyed to him as my goals for the year, and like the way I talked with that belief and went to achieve them. And I was really proud of that, because, you know, it's one thing to be fast, but if you can kind of convince someone that this is what you want to do, I mean, it's important that you then do it, or else you're just kind of talking with nothing to back it up. But I was really proud of kind of buying into that. And my senior year, I had a very, very good cross country season. I won the state meet by a lot. And then at Foot Locker regionals, which is like the regional meet to go to the nationals, I came in second in the South, and then was 8th at nationals, which was like All-American. And at that point in November, right before that regional race, I was able to sign to Stanford. I think I got technically what would have been the last recruiting spot out of like the 5 of us who came, but that's not formal. Like they'd never actually reveal that, but I think that was the deal. But then coming in 8th at Foot Locker my senior year kind of validated being selected to go to Stanford in a lot of ways. It went from being like a relatively unknown to, okay, this guy is like a top 10 guy. And I was really proud of that. And then, yeah, had a awesome senior track season. I set the state record in the 2 mile at 8:47 flat in California my senior year spring. I guess it's 3,200, but so that was another really big thing I wanted to accomplish. I don't think anyone's gotten that yet, but I'm sure there's some high school kid out there listening who will. And yeah, so that was kind of the process to going to Stanford. In terms of like, why did I want to, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I wanted a school that would be always competing for championships, and Stanford cross country is always a threat to be on the podium at nationals. We've been top 5, I think like 6 out of the last 8 years in cross country. And there's also been a lot of individuals, including my podcast co-host, who've won NCAA titles and then have gone on to be Olympians and that kind of thing. You know, it's a place that you want to go to further your running career. And obviously, in addition to that, the backup plan of having the Stanford degree is pretty freaking solid. So there was really, I mean, when I took my official out here, I hadn't been offered yet, but I knew if they offered me that there was no chance I wasn't going to come and try to prove myself. And I was really, really fortunate that they ended up doing that. You know, had to fill out the application like everyone else. And then I found out I got in and was super stoked. I committed on the phone when they told me I got in. I looked at other schools. I took officials to Furman because they're a very good running program. And I really love their coaching staff, Coach Neal, Coach Gary, Coach Roberts down there. I took an official to Georgetown because, you know, my major is public policy. I love the idea of DC. They're a great team. And Coach Bonsu there was great to me too. But you know, and I looked at other schools locally, like Duke, Carolina, and State. I looked at Princeton a little bit, but really Stanford, if Stanford worked out, I was never not going to go there. And just was really fortunate that it all came together.
Hard work pays off, man. And obviously you put in the work and you deserve it. So I'm happy about that. Kind of the last piece of the story, you know, to get to the present, you get to Stanford, you step on campus, talk about that. I want to hear more about that experience, like maybe initial reaction of like, maybe your perception of what you thought it was going to be like, and then reality, and then just kind of how your career has been during college so far.
Yeah. Wow. Taking me back here. I remember, so we're in a hotel right now at preseason camp. It's just ending. And I remember like my first year being at this camp compared to now, it's just crazy. I mean, you know, the natural progression of things from freshman year to senior, when you go from a guy who you're just looking around, hoping not to mess up and have an upperclassman yell at you, to being the guy who's kind of setting the agenda, or being someone who, you know, is responsible for a lot of the ethos around the team. Early, you know, it's interesting. I've had a lot of injuries in my time in college, and I've not had the career I wanted to so far. I'm optimistic that that'll turn around. I'm still putting in the work to make it turn around, but sometimes you can't control things. And with running especially, there's a lot of opportunities for hiccups and injuries, and that pattern to be anything but linear and clear. So I think if you'd asked me freshman year, I would have thought I'd accomplished a lot more than I have by now. I've had some good moments in college. My freshman year, I won the junior cross country championships in the United States. Sorry, I cut out. But I've had ups. I ran 13:42 in the 5K. but I've also been injured a lot more than I would have wanted to. And I haven't been an All-American. I haven't been able to contribute to our team in cross country. So in a lot of ways, there's been a lot of like sadness associated with the career as well. There's a lot more I would have wanted to accomplish. A lot I'm excited to try to accomplish this year in this kind of extra season. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wish I could have kind of a more fuller answer, but I honestly, I'm still in the middle of it in a lot of ways, and grinding and focusing on day to day. It is cool the more you spend at a place. Like I remember driving down Palm Drive, our main drive here, and like looking at campus and just being shocked at like, this is a place I got to go. My dad came out on my official and he just told me he imagined it would be like waking up every day on vacation, just because of how beautiful it is. But then you're biking to class at like 8 a.m. knowing you got to go run twice that day. And it's raining and it's January and you're like, this isn't really vacation. this is still a place you got to put in the work. But no, I mean, I wouldn't trade any of the experiences I've had here. I wish I was healthier, but I know I'm doing what I can on that front. And sometimes you get bad breaks and sometimes you got to learn how to deal with things. So no, my class I've gotten to spend the last 4 or 5 years with has been incredible. I love those guys and girls. And yeah, it has been a blast, even though it hasn't been ideal by any means.
Yeah. Wow. What injuries kind of set you back? What kind of things have you gone through?
Yeah, so I was pretty injury free in high school. I just had one metatarsal fracture in my foot my junior year, which was like 4 to 6 weeks in a boot.
What did that from? Was that just overuse?
That's running. A lot of it is just going to be from running. It's not like basketball or football where you make a weird cut and your ACL goes. A lot of it is just sustained overuse. The way my injuries have often set on is like you feel sore when you're running and when you stop, but it's not at a threshold where it's unbearable. And you know that if you talk about it or if you stop running right away, then you're going to miss your training. And you think, okay, I can just push this a little bit farther. And then oftentimes you end up struggling and getting more injured. Something else goes because you're compensating because you can't run normally. Now, I will say that there's any elite runner who tells you that they feel completely perfect is lying. You're putting in anywhere from 70 to 110 mile weeks if you're a track long distance guy. You're putting in more if you're a marathoner. Anyone who can handle that mileage with completely nothing popping up ever, like they're not telling you the truth. So running is a constant balance of kind of evaluating yourself and seeing, okay, is this a real injury or is this just kind of like a sore thing? And what can I do with it? Do I need to stop or can I run? And if you stopped every time you felt something, you would never train. But the issue in my situation that's plagued me the last really 2 years has been when you have taken time off. So like I had a sacral stress fracture my sophomore year, which is a really bad one to get as a runner. It's really a running injury too. It's running in old people. And that was like 3.5 months of just nothing. And then you can start swimming and then you can build back up. And I was able to come off of that successfully and have a good track season that spring, but it took me out the whole sophomore year fall.
Wow.
And then going into that summer, I had like an Achilles thing flare up. I ran through for cross country and got through, but then kind of set me back at the end of cross country where I was too injured to do well at like Pac-12s and then missed the regional national meets. And then my junior year spring, I had a plantar fascial tear that was kind of a product of the fact that my Achilles was weak on my other side. So it's all kind of connected. Then COVID hit and I couldn't get treatment for that for a long time. So it took me until like July or August. And then this past year has been a bunch of little things. I had one of my femurs have like a mild stress reaction, still working through the Achilles thing. That's more of a chronic thing that we're hoping to kind of fix with long-term treatment. And that's what's been a problem recently, like last couple of months for me, that I have to kind of constantly monitor as I try to train. So yeah, it's never cut and dry. I wish it was cut and dry. I wish it could be like in a lot of ways, you wish it could be like a bone thing or a, not obviously an ACL or MCL, but like something more minor that you can like say, okay, once I heal from this, I'll be good. The one time I had a real bone thing, that's sacral. Once a bone heals, it's good. The thing with tendons is you never know. It's a little bit hit or miss. So yeah, I've had a lot of injury things, which has meant a lot of physical therapy, a lot of cross training, which is when we swim or bike instead of run to get your cardio in. Yeah, a lot of just grinding, trying to work on form. doing a lot of like strength stuff in the weight room to try to shift kind of how I use my hips and my butt. We have a trainer right now who's working with me every day to try to make sure I'm using my hips correctly when I'm running, because he thinks that's a big reason why my lower body has been so messed up the last couple of years. But yeah, that's kind of the injury history. And but the thing I was saying was, once you're in that kind of cycle of, okay, I haven't run like my normal mileage in a long time, then it's really hard to run through those little hiccups that I was talking about earlier, because when your legs aren't used to it, it's so difficult to. So now you're talking about like, you got to be extra cautious when you're coming off of an injury and you already feel stressed out and behind on your training. So it's like almost this like oxymoron in your head. It's like, well, I've been off for so long, but now I have to be more careful. Than like, this rest doesn't even like allow me to just freaking go rip. It's funny because, like listening to your podcast, which, and I totally agree with a lot of the stuff about like, just, like getting after it. A lot of the last year for me has been trying to teach myself to not get after it, because it's actually set me back a little bit when I'm not ready. Even when I am coming back a lot of the time, maybe I kept myself at a level of fitness in the pool that's actually like way better than my musculoskeletal fitness level, like between my tendons and limbs of my body. So now I'm coming back to running and it doesn't feel hard aerobically, but my body is not used to like the pounding of running again. So I have to go slower than I think. And if I don't, then I'm going to mess myself up. So there's all these little things that you have to kind of pay attention to and do well to come out of your injury. And unfortunately, it's just been really hard for me to get through that cycle without something popping up. So that's kind of where I'm at, but I am optimistic about this upcoming time because I have a new athletic trainer who's been working with us very diligently. I've got people in my corner who are advising me on every step of this, and I do feel pretty protected. So yeah, I'm excited about this progression, but it has not been an ideal road for sure.
Wow. That's a lot of stuff there, man. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better now. I think that's the key. Obviously, the past, you're feeling good now. You're crushing preseason, and I'm excited to see what you do this season. So that's all that matters.
For sure, man. For sure.
I want to know more about your current training, both obviously the running. I want to hear kind of more about that. Obviously, my background is in basketball. I am doing more runs now. I've kind of gotten into that.
I saw that on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah. So my next challenge, I'm going to run a marathon in December. And so that hasn't been public. We haven't put that out on anything, but the podcast listeners, they get a little extra. We always give them a little extra secret before it comes out publicly, but that's the plan, dude. Like, I finished up playing college basketball. I loved the game of basketball, but I was never able to do stuff that really pushed me mentally and physically. Obviously, the game of basketball is so much more strategic and skill and like all that stuff. So I'm excited about exploring this, but I want to lift. I want to continue to lift and do strength training while I'm training for the marathon. So kind of more the hybrid style of training. I want to hear kind of your training, and then I'm definitely going to pick your brain about incorporating weights while doing a lot of volume on your legs and kind of how you go about that. So just jump in. I want to hear kind of what your daily and weekly training looks like from both a running standpoint and then a strength standpoint.
Yeah. So I'll hit you with a typical week when I'm fully healthy, just because that's just going to be easier, I think, to comprehend. It's not quite where I am right now because I'm doing more cross training, but typically my mileage would be somewhere around 75 miles a week. Which is broken up into different distances every day. The consistent parts of a week is Sunday, we do a long run, which can be anywhere from like 13 to 16 miles. Tuesday and Friday are workout days. So those are days where you're still running, but you're doing like reps. You're on a track maybe, or you're on like a field and you're doing them faster than normal runs. You're doing them at like race paces or tempo paces. You're doing them up tempo, and that hurts. Those are your opportunities. So those are the 3 days of a week, your long run, then those 2 runs that are probably the most important, and they're where you're going to maximize your efforts. You still can't maximize your efforts 3 times a week. That's too much, but that's where you're going to kind of go the most to the well. Your other days, your Mondays, your Thursdays, those are just going to be mileage days. So typically we double. Those other 3 I just mentioned are single run days. Those Monday, Thursdays, you might have like 11 miles on the day. So you might break that up into like a 7 and a 4 in the morning and in the afternoon. So at that, you're talking like 9 runs for the week.
And
Because
those are
you're
slower
running.
runs.
Yeah, those are slower runs. So those are going to be way slower than your workout days. Those might be slower than your long run days too, because long run is a chance to get a really consistent quality effort. So those are going to be slower. Now, all those, like, slower is such a relative term. I think if I told you what our pace was on slower runs, that would not be like slower for you, and that's totally like
What is your
fine. That's
pace?
just so slower run would probably be like slowest would be 7-minute mile pace.
7 minute?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Although some days you go a little bit slower, but typically I feel like we're around like 640, 645 for those like 7 mile, 8 mile, just shakeout kind of runs. And then the only thing I haven't mentioned is Wednesday is like a moderate long. So you're going to do like 12 or 13, like not quite as far as your long run, but a good effort. And then Saturday is you're going to be a recovery day. You're only running like 4 or 5 miles. Now for us, that is a recovery day. I know that may not sound like a recovery day. It is confusing. I hate when I describe week of training to someone who doesn't know running, like this, like I don't mean it for it to sound like, oh, that's our recovery day, 4 or 5 miles. I know that's a lot for a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
people. But yeah, that once you've gotten accustomed to it, it's not crazy. And yeah, so typically maybe instead of doubling for someone like me, one of those Monday, Thursdays, I might get in the pool instead, or I might bike. But yeah, that would be consistently what a week is like. Now within that, for strength training, I do 15 minutes of core every night, which is just like, just you got planks, you got sit-ups, you got crunches, you got like side planking, Russian twists, like that stuff. But that's just something I do on the side. We have 2 actual strength training sessions a week on Monday and Thursday, where we're in the gym for about an hour. The primary goal of those sessions is kind of the reason that runners lift is for injury prevention and stability in training. I also think there's a big thing of generating power through that, but you want to kind of pick your point. You don't want to go too far down that road necessarily, but I do think that pretty much every runner would benefit from strength training. I don't think it's like, oh, I don't need to strength train at all. There's a huge benefit to it. A lot of the stuff that we do though is based around lower weight than like actual lifting probably. And a lot of time it might be lower reps too, but we're definitely getting in there. We do a lot of exercises on lower body, lower legs, a lot of, and it depends on the person. So I was going to say squatting, but it's not squatting maybe in the way you would think of squatting, right? We're never going for like maxing.
Right.
It's more about like keeping your form with a squat rack, and maybe 5 reps at a weight that is manageable. You're not gonna mess up. And it's really focused on form. Or we'll do RDLs with a dumbbell, but you're only holding like 20 or 30 pounds on that. You don't need to get like down to like 150 pounds, like going down and up. It's really just focused on form and doing things right. And then we do band work, a lot of like hit band work, where you're doing like clamshell type things, or you're in a quarter squat with a band between your legs and just like kicking out one foot while the other foot is stable. A lot of things to strengthen your hips, glutes, and calves, and just that whole chain. So we have a really great strength coach who understands distance running and how we don't need to be absolutely just throwing up weight in the weight room. In those 2 sessions, we'll have like 1 or 2 exercises that are like arms based. We'll have like maybe something where you're kneeling with a free weight and you're kind of pushing up and down, or maybe we'll get on the bench and do some sort of bench press with 2 free weights. And I mean, for someone like me, that's going to be, I won't get above like 50 pounds per weight. It'll be like 45 or something. And again, you're just focused on form. And then we'll often incorporate pull-ups or something with like TRX row bands, where we're doing like a T or a W coming up. We've also got like RX machines that will like resist us. So it's a lot of like resistance training rather than like just throwing up maximum weight. But I do think there's a lot of value in that. It also helps that we don't care about what our maxes are. As distance runners, it's more about what's your fastest mile time and that kind of thing. So yeah, there's not as much ego, I think, in the gym, which is super helpful. But yeah, so it's really quality work and it's very specialized, but it might not knock anyone's socks off for sure.
No, that's interesting, and I think it's cool to hear from you as an elite runner. Kind of what it looks like from from a realistic standpoint and how to optimize your primary goal, like you said, is to run fast. It's not to be jacked. It's not to be super, super strong in the weight room, but it's cool to see how that can impact your running and how it can help if done the right way with the right mindset. There's a guy, Nick Bear. I don't know if you're familiar with Nick, but he's got a company out in Austin, Texas, BPN. It's a performance, Bear Performance Nutrition. It's a supplement company. He used to be a bodybuilder, and now he's transitioned into this endurance athlete. He's done multiple Ironmans, marathons, but he holds a lot of muscle mass. So he's kind of got is got an interesting body type for a marathoner slash Ironman participant. But it's cool to see him talk about kind of his training with how he continues to incorporate that hybrid style of training, and he doesn't compromise like he still lifts super heavy. And he even talked about like he ran a couple marathons where he tried to bring back a little bit of the weight training and not do as much on his legs, and he actually ran slower because he wasn't strengthening his legs. And for a guy that big, I think it's important for him to have that. But yeah, it's interesting to kind of see what you guys do at Stanford and how it all plays out until, you know, y'all's best performances on the track.
Well, I will say one thing about that is like there's a lot of research that shows like low reps but high intensity or like high weight for us, which is still not high weight. I wish I had numbers for what our like squatting when we use a rack is, but I literally just know it by colors from the weights in the weight room because we just don't really care. But I don't want to get it wrong because that would be probably worse than just not saying it. But we're talking like 3 sets of 5 reps on a squat machine or a squat rack where you're holding for like 2 or 3 seconds at the bottom and then like coming up slowly. That stuff is really helpful. So that is putting weight on your legs. So we typically do that once a week during the season. Usually it's post workout as well. And just to make it like a maximum day heavy on the legs. And that allows your legs to come back quicker, we think, or at least strengthen them extra because of it's at the end of a day, at the end of like a larger workout day. So I would say that it's not that we avoid working the legs at all in there, which isn't what you were saying, but just so people know, like, you definitely still have to work your legs and there's value to it. You know, you shouldn't, as a runner, you shouldn't be going into weight room just working your arms. You know, it should probably be primarily like working your legs a good amount, even if you're running. So yeah, it's a mixture. You know, there are a lot of people who can do marathons and are not doing like my type of training at all. So I mean, you're definitely going to be more in that hybrid system than you would in what I'm doing. My advice might not even be the most applicable to you, but it's fascinating. It's a mixture.
What do you got? All right, I want to talk more about nutrition. Obviously, that plays a big role. And I think this is valuable to talk about because a lot of people don't necessarily think of nutrition as being one of the key components to your athletic performance. They see you in the weight room, you running on the track, and they're like, he's crushing it there. But talk about your nutrition. Are you guys counting calories? Are you guys counting macros? Like, how detailed do you guys get? Or is it more of just a feel of like eating clean? Like, what does it look like for you guys?
For sure. So nutrition is so important, and it's something that I've always cared about, but didn't start paying super close attention to until maybe the past calendar year. We actually, me and the team dietitian and one of the therapists who works kind of in like the underbelly of our staff have kind of figured out that we think nutrition is a big part of the reason I keep having these injuries, actually. So it's something I've been trying to pay more attention to moving forward. There's a mixture of things. I've gotten, even this summer, I was seeing an endocrinologist who figured out I have really high testosterone right now, which you think would be a great thing for training, but is actually potentially a sign that I hit puberty so late that I'm still kind of coming down off of that. So my body is still kind of like growing, not vertically. I'm at like 6 feet. That's where I'm going to be, but I like have built out a little bit, and that's part of the reason for injuries, but also just another sign I need a lot of calories right now to keep up with that, even when I'm not training heavily, if I'm injured or something. So I paid a lot more attention to nutrition because of that. And also because we think I was in a little bit of an energy deficit over the past year that has led to me not being able to come out of my injuries. So I don't count calories specifically, but I'm making sure that I am counting what I eat, just like big picture wise. And at the end of the day, looking at it like, was that enough? And on days where it's not enough, then I know I need to be better. So some of the things, I don't know, there's a lot of directions I could go from this. The one thing I do kind of count is protein intake. And that's more of a recent thing for me. Protein is super important. I'm making sure that post-workout, like if I'm lifting or if I'm doing my PT exercises, which is something I incorporate like 3 to 4 times a week, in addition to all the other stuff we were talking about, post those sessions, post runs, I'm getting a protein shake in pretty much right away. Or maybe some boiled eggs they have in the training room for us, or as well as like a little bit of carbs just right away post runs. That's the most important thing for me, making sure I get the amount of protein per day so my body can use those calories. As a runner, it's important to have carbs as well, but the number one thing for me right now is utilizing good, like complete protein. So I guess big picture, what I look for is protein and overall calories, but I don't like count overall calories. I'm just making sure that, okay, I had 3 solid meals plus like 2 or 3 snacks, like that's enough.
Yeah.
On a given day. Yeah, so that's the number one thing I look for. I realize when I'm not training a ton, so when I'm injured, my body will naturally go into a state where it's not that hungry because it's used to running 75 miles a week and eating X amount of calories. And now I'm not running hardly anything, or I'm just swimming a bunch, or I'm running a little bit. And my body's like, I don't need to eat that much, but it does, because if I'm not running, that means I'm injured and I need a lot of calories to properly heal, you know? So that's been something I've been trying to deal with, because a lot of time I'm like low key trying to force myself to eat, but I have some tips to do that. Something that my nutritionist talked to me about is giving myself a lot of opportunities to eat. So every 2 hours, I'm supposed to present myself with an opportunity to eat food, in addition to the 3 meals a day, basically. Now, obviously not while I'm sleeping, but pretty much all the waking hours. So that's a little thing I do, where I've always making sure I got a shake, or I've got something, whether it's a bar or hopefully like fruit or something solid that I can be eating every 2 hours. Because we realize that even though I'm not sending signals that I'm hungry, I do need to be eating. And in addition, the protein thing is another super big important part of it. Post exercises, I'm drinking a muscle milk or a protein shake. Post runs, you want to get simple carbohydrates into your body as quickly as possible. So if you're going to dilute, like if you're going to go on a run, post run, you want to get, even if it's like an unhealthy, quote unquote unhealthy, like bar or like a honey stinger, anything that's like maybe simpler, sugary, like that's okay post run, because you've diluted your fuel so much that to get that glucose and to get that carb back into your body is super important. And then if it's a more lift centered thing, or in addition to your carbs, if it's a long run, getting like a muscle milk or a protein shake is also super valuable. You want your body to constantly be having solid protein. Those are the 2 things I really look for with nutrition, but it's so important. And on days where I don't get the right amount of protein, I can tell and I can feel it. And when I exercise, like, you know, something that I think people don't realize is, if like as important as training is, like what you're doing in training and in PT and in therapy and in all the stuff that we do, is you're breaking down the muscles of your body. You're breaking it down. You're exerting your aerobic capacity. You're doing stuff like that. The way you get better is by rebuilding those groups, you know? So the more you tear them down, the more they rebuild, but you can, like, it's so essential to like post-workout, get that like post-workout shake in, or healthy food in, or whatever it is, to rebuild your muscles. Otherwise, what are you doing? And I think there was a lot of time, me as a freshman and sophomore, where I didn't take that as seriously as I should have. And I was like, oh, I worked out, I don't really need to like make sure I go grab this shake. It's kind of gross, I don't like it. Now it's like, I wouldn't go without it because I know how badly I need it. So I wish I'd learned that sooner, how important that recovery is. Because all you're like, when you do the workout, it's important, but it's nothing if you're not getting it back. Like the next day, the next 3 days, like what's your recovery? You're going to be too far in the hole. You're going to get injured. So if you don't do it. So yeah, it's super, super important. That might not have been the most clear answer to the question, but protein and overall calories is essential as a runner. I don't eat a ton of junk food, so it's not something I really watch for. But if I want it, I give it to myself, because calories are more important to me. And realistically, like, it's really hard for me to put on weight when I'm running that much. So I don't like limit myself. I just try to eat decently healthy, get some vegetables, greens, all that stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. No, that's super valuable. I think you brought a ton there that's really helpful. What's your favorite go-to pre-run snack, like before a long run or something like that? What's your favorite snack?
Banana. If it's a morning long run, if it's a morning run, all I really need is like a banana before, half a banana. Even.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, because if it's the first thing you do when you wake up out of bed, that's kind of what I hit. I think you don't want to overeat right before you run as well.
Right.
If you're running after a meal, then you can have like a breakfast. That's a little different. But if it's like, hey, I got like 30 minutes before I go run, or 20 minutes, then yeah, I'm eating a banana. I might eat like part of a bar, a couple bites of a bar or a stinger. Recently, I've been like drinking a little bit of my like muscle milk or Fairlife before, and then going out and hitting it. I don't like having too much in my stomach. And then post, yeah, kind of like what I talked about, a simple carb, or I'll have like, if I haven't had a banana, I'll have one. And then like a muscle milk, and then whatever else. We have a really cool like nutrition set up in the weight room where we can take stuff. So
That's awesome.
whatever's out there, it's super good. But and then just so you know, if anyone's interested, pre-race, if it's any race in the morning or afternoon, I will go with a peanut butter bagel with a banana on the side. And that's been it since high school. And I mean, if it's later, and I might have 2 peanut butter bagels. So it's not about the amount. It's just like simple. You want like white bread, something that like moves through you simply and won't get like stuck up in, and peanut butter, which is like a solid protein, and banana. That's what I do. Guys do different things. Some guys add oatmeal to that. Other guys don't really care that much, but I found that works for me. Or a turkey sandwich, not ham though. You don't have ham in the morning of your marathon. It's saltier, which means that you're going to hold more water with it, and it's going to be more susceptible to cramping. So anyway, there's a bunch of things you pick up when you have bad races, and you're like, why did I feel so terrible? And yeah, so I don't make those mistakes again. But yeah, diet is so important, man. Diet can make you feel like you're so sluggish or so alert. And it's so important to getting out the door and training every day. If you feel like really sluggish because you didn't eat well, and you don't go train, and you're like, okay, well, I was just tired today, bro. Like, you could have not been tired if you just eaten better. So it's super important to me to stay up on that.
That's awesome. What about hydration? I know that's obviously another big component. The food is obviously there, but you guys are drinking, you're sweating a ton, you're working super hard. How do you guys stay on top of that? Is there a system? Do you have any tips or tricks, or kind of what does that look like for you?
I don't have any system with hydration. I just drink all the time. I mean, truthfully, I look for my pee to be like as close to clear as possible. If it's like ever dark yellow, that's a big problem. And I go chug a bottle of water. I mean, it might be a little gross for some people, but that is like the clearest way you're going to be able to tell where your hydration levels are at. A lot of guys add noon to hydration, or other kind of supplements. I do sometimes. I also just would prefer to drink like Gatorade post run if I really need something that's got like some extra sugar in it. But yeah, a lot of guys will add stuff to their plain water. But yeah, it's super important to hydrate. I mean, you lose a ton of like water when you're sweating like that on a normal run. So hydration is also key. It can, as you know, it prevents muscle cramping and all that stuff. It's super, super key as a runner. I don't have a number though. I just make sure my pee is a consistent.
No, that's
a good color.
Yeah, that's a great indicator. I mean, I think that's a good way to do it. That's been one of my biggest things. The nutrition, something I'm going to need to adjust and definitely fine tune, especially trying to incorporate like the strength component with all of the mileage. I'm definitely going to have to tweak that a little bit. But then just the hydration is, I sweat naturally. I just sweat so much. So I need to stay on top of that.
Well, it might make sense for you to like be bringing like a gel on your run, or like, some sort of liquid that isn't just water, like a noon tablet in a water, or like a Gatorade or something. So you can get like those kind of calories, and also that kind of, glucose or just whatever response like back into your body. So just so you don't overexert, especially early on. And then for diet, it's whatever you can go on runs on and not feel sick. That's what you're going to want to shoot for. It's going to be trial and error. That's what we tell people. It's a lot of trial and error with diet before racing too. You have to kind of figure out, okay, this works for that workout. No, that felt really bad. It's not, and it's different for different people. Like some people do things before races that if I did, I would throw up. And likewise for others. So it's just what works for you.
Are you guys running long enough distances where you're having to fuel within one workout, or is that kind of more marathon prep type stuff?
No, that's marathon prep. We have water bottles during workouts when we have reps off or something, but no, it's
snacks or gels or anything in a your style of training.
No, it's also something that like I would recommend other people taking snacks and gels if they were doing what we were doing. If you're going like a 16-mile long run tomorrow, like most people might need like a gel halfway through that. But no, we're not doing anything ridiculous. And marathoners will bring gels on long runs and stuff. But if you're like an elite marathoner, then you should be able to get through most of your training without mid training snacks. It's just post, you just have to hit it. I mean, and they're fine tuned. Like they're not going to be in those like deficient states for that long. And if they are, it's for a purpose. And then during the marathons themselves, a lot of, marathoners always take something, like pros as well. Like you might have a goo, like one of those gel thingies. And then your water is usually not just water. It's got some sort of like stuff in it too. Like we talked about Noon or Gatorade. And so, yeah, there are your own unique energy mix that's supposed to help you. So during the race itself, people have stuff. I'm sure you'll have stuff. I'm really excited about the idea of doing a marathon.
No, we need to stay in touch after the podcast, and obviously I'll brainstorm and probably pick your brain about some more stuff, because it's a whole new world, a whole new space. I'm excited for it. So
that's awesome. You're doing it. I haven't done a marathon ever. So
really,
that's a whole new level.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a new level. A couple of weeks ago, I was in earlier in the summer, I was in Greenville, South Carolina for a wedding, and I'm good friends with the strength coach at Furman, on the basketball strength coach. He works with the golf as well, and we planned to just meet up. The wedding was Saturday evening. We were like, let's get a workout in Saturday morning. So he's like, you want to just do a little 5K around campus? I was like, yeah, let's do it. Just got to catch up, talk about life and whatever. And he's like, all right, well, I got to go hit these guys, get them in the weight room to hit a strength session. And I was like, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm gonna keep rolling a couple laps. And he's like, go ahead, knock yourself out. And I ran a half marathon that day.
Wow.
Not like, and I had no plan to, no fuel, no like strategy. I just did it. And I was like, that's kind of when I got the wheel turning of like, this is kind of fun. I kind of enjoy it.
If you can do a half marathon like that, then I think you'll have no problems with the marathon as long as you have a little bit of training. For sure. You'll be able to get it done. It's a completion. I mean, you might have problems the day of. I'm not saying, but like you can do it. There's no doubt you can do it. That's sick though. That's sick. My brother plays soccer at Furman.
Does he really?
Yeah. So I don't know if it's the same strength coach, if it's a different guy, but that's awesome.
Yeah, he's a beast. Yeah, he's awesome. That's good, man. How much are you sleeping? Are you sleeping a lot, or does it vary, or do you have like a system on rest and recovery with your sleep? How does that work?
Yeah, I don't have any of the apps that track it. Some of my teammates do. There's not a night where I'm not shooting for 8+ hours.
Really?
Sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes you're at 7, but like similar to the nutrition side, like I can tell when I don't get 8. Yeah. I really love when I'm at 9.5, 9. If I can get to 10, that's sick. Sleep is, so one cool thing is like when you run 70 miles a week, or if you're doing like 10 efforts a week, no matter if you're cross training or running, you can go sleep as much as you want. You can't feel bad about it. Like no one's going to tell you to like that you're sleeping too long or something, which is fun. But bigger picture, yeah, there's some nights where it doesn't happen because of school or because it's just a late night and early morning. Those days I almost always take naps. I'm a huge believer in naps. It's not the same as it just depends. It's not the same as your like REM sleep. It's not the same as that. It doesn't replace it, but it does do something. Like it is better than not napping, I think. The naps, sometimes it's a half hour, but realistically I try to sleep for an hour plus if I can during the middle of the day. It just depends on when you have class and stuff. If I'm waking up to go run like 7 miles at like 8 a.m. and then I have like one class at 10 and then I'm free until afternoon practice at like 3:30, I'm going to go try to sleep. Yeah. As much as I need. So yeah, I don't always get 9, but I have been over the summer, which is really cool when you have less stuff to do. And sleep is like when you're injured, for example, unless you're getting surgery, sleep is the single most important thing that's going to help you heal. Because your body heals when it's sleep. Like it's so important, Doug. Cannot stress that enough. So yeah, I sleep is, as a runner, like sleep is like your baby. It's something you protect and you're going to care the most about. So yeah, it's so essential. I can't stress that one enough.
Now, this conversation has been extremely valuable to me personally. Hopefully, the people that listen, they'll take a lot from this. But like, as I kind of do a SWOT analysis on my life, like sleep is somewhere I need to improve. Like trying to run AIM and do all the other business stuff I'm doing and train. And it's just like, that's something I don't necessarily prioritize. And I definitely need to refine that if I'm going to be serious about this goal of running, fast in December. So
for sure, if you want to not just complete the marathon but run fast, you're gonna need to sleep if you want to get through training for it and then the race itself. It's funny, I feel like there's a whole lot of like, you read these autobiographies of famous people who are like, I sleep 2 hours a night, And I don't know, man. I mean, people can do that, but those people aren't running 80 miles a week.
Right.
Even if they're doing a bunch of other tons of stuff and they're this way and that way. And,
Yeah.
like in your position, like maybe you do need to get less sleep if you're like all hours of the day balancing your business and all the other things you got going on. Right. But for someone like me, who's prioritizing running and health and training and racing, that's the number one thing. And so in that case, sleep is incredibly important. If I was an actor who was balancing roles and needed to get in the gym, or like maybe I could get away with less sleep, although it still definitely affects you. It's not the same as when you're trying to be a runner, because you need that for your health.
No, that makes a ton of sense. The last big thing I want to touch on before we kind of just wrap things up, I want to talk about the mindset, because obviously with our brand, our platform, like this is really cool. We're able to talk to so many different people across a variety of platforms about their mindset and how they apply their versions of ambition. But I think you've got a really unique opportunity to share some of the things that you think about, some of the ways you frame your mind as an elite runner. And yeah, I guess my question for you is just, what drives you intrinsically, and how do you apply that to your overall life, but also running and really just breaking down your mindset?
That's a great question. I mean, I think it's different for everyone. For me, and I'll take it a running centric viewpoint, because that's something I've had a lot of time to think about on thousands of miles of runs during my time, especially during the injury stuff, because it's gone from a position for me where I felt like sophomore year of college, I was for sure going to continue doing this post collegiately, be a professional. I was already fast enough to maybe get in some groups, and I was only going to go up from there. And since then, I've pretty much only gone down, or at least been in a really difficult spot where I've had to work really hard just to try to get back to health. It's not what I expected, but like I said early on, I fall in love with the process of it. PT isn't fun, and not running isn't fun. For me, swimming sucks. I hate it. Biking sucks. I hate it. Running is awesome. That's just always how it's been. So when I have to do these other things, when I have to do PT every day, when I have to watch my teammates run, I love them. I'm happy for them, but like it sucks. It freaking sucks every day. And when you're injured, it sucks. And, when I think about why I still do it, I often come back to, there's an opportunity here while I still am like generally healthy and a young person to see how far I can push myself in this sport. And not just that, but at this point, with all the adversity I've gone through, I have a personal investment in seeing if I'm actually able to overcome all these obstacles. And yeah, I mean, there's part of me that's like, oh, and share my journey and be inspired. But at the end of the day, like I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that like thousands of people are hanging on every one of my words, like waiting for that opportunity. They're waiting, like, is he gonna make it or whatever? It's really just for me. Yeah. I've always wanted to see how far I could push myself in this. How close can I get to that big line of like my maximum ability in track and field? And as the injuries and setbacks have come in, it's still been that philosophy. It's been, hey, can I overcome this? Like, am I the person I think I am who can do this kind of thing? I've always been a confident guy, and I feel like without that, I might have stopped a long time ago. But yeah, it's just digging, like, how much can I get out of myself? Can I overcome these obstacles? Can I get close to that line? Because running is something that I'm really good at, and there's not that many things in the world that people have where they can really go after this absolute maximum. Like in the next couple of years here, hopefully, I'm going to be trying to get just the absolute most out of myself in running. And I think I'm really just into that experience because there's not that many things else in my life that's so cut and dry. Like, you're getting the most out of it, like even with like my podcasting or with school or that kind of thing, it's a lot more of a gray area. With running, the numbers tell you if you're closer, if you're farther, or how close you are to a world record or to an American record or that kind of thing. And those aren't goals that are in my wheelhouse right now, but I think I'm just really interested in that idea of like, how close can I get to my maximum potential? And in all things, but running is something that like I work on daily to get to. And then the other thing is something I believed for a long time, since early high school, where the only way I fail in this is if I quit. And I think quitting is like, and I don't mean quitting in like a bad sense, because I've had a lot of peers and a lot of friends who have had injury journeys similar to mine have medically retired or stopped the sport. And that means quitting, but I don't mean quitting with any of the like associations of like negativity. Sometimes it's a good idea to quit. Sometimes it's been too much, especially in running, and you've gone through so much that it's time to find something that doesn't hurt you that bad and doesn't make you feel so bad. But for someone like me, I still love like running itself so much, and I'm still so like intoxicated by the idea of getting back out there and racing and training that I still really want to do it. And so in my head, the only way that I don't ultimately succeed in this and compete at the trials and USAs and hopefully make teams, that kind of thing, is if I quit and like throw in the towel. And if I say, okay, like I'm too far away, or I've been hurt for too long, or I'm done. And that's kind of my decision every day if I want to make that call. And I haven't made it yet, and I don't have plans to, even with like the adversity and stuff I faced. So
I love
like,
it.
yeah, but just if I can look at in the mirror and it's like, hey, I'm not quitting today, I'm going to work, then like that checks a box. I don't freaking think about it when I see adversity, or when something hits me, or when there's a problem. Like, it's just, I made this decision today. Like I'm gonna keep going, and look, one day, good or bad, like Olympics or not, like whatever, like I will quit. You know, like it doesn't go on forever. But I don't want to quit and have any doubts that maybe I left something on the table in this. And I'm willing to run out the clock on trying to chase it, even with the injuries I've had and that kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, you know, the work's never been a problem. Like when I'm healthy and training, that's the most fun part, even if it sucks, even if it's hard. You know, it's been way harder for me being injured and having to take time off and thinking in that process of being like, man, can I get back? How do I get back? What do I need to do? So I'm really excited about the idea of getting into full training and kind of trying to see what I can do, because that's always been the part I loved. And yeah, I mean, just, it's up to me. Like it's when I pull the plug, I think, in a lot of ways. And as if I don't pull the plug, and I'm going to make it. So as long as nothing catastrophic's going on, knock on wood, then hopefully you'll still be hearing about me. You know, that's kind of the plan.
I love that, dude. I really do. And I think it's just so valuable for everyone listening. Like that's the same way I feel about, you know, this platform we've created with AIM, why it might not be as cut and dry. And, you know, from a metric standpoint of gauging success, I mean, you could talk about, you know, audience and following and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like I'm going to keep pushing this until I'm ready to stop, and it's going to be on my terms. And I feel like the only way we lose, or the only way this thing fails, is if I stop giving it effort and energy and resources. And I think that's something I won't do, because I'm passionate about it. Similar to your running experience, it's like, if it's something that fills you up and drives you and you feel called to do it and you find meaning in it, like you're going to keep grinding, you're going to keep pushing. And so I love what you said there, bro. That's so dope.
That's awesome, man. And it reminds me of something I had a mentor say to me a couple of weeks ago, actually, because there's a lot of fear associated with like graduating college, and especially in the sport like running, where the pro scene isn't super cut and dry, and you've got to be accomplished to do it. And at a certain point, you know, there's a trade-off of like, do you follow a Stanford degree and a Stanford job, or do you kind of try to go for this thing? And he was just saying, look, like, because I had told him in the past, running is the thing for me. It's the thing I care the most about by far. And he was like, look, like, then you can't have fear associated with this, because if you're telling me that this is what you want to do and what you love, then you should chase it as far as you can. And when it finally is over, like it will lead you to your next thing. You know, even like with your platform right now, like if this is the thing that, you know, you're most passionate about and care about, then there shouldn't be any hesitation to go after it. Because even if like it shifts a little bit or it morphs, or if one component goes and there's another one replacing it, like you will, like that's the space you want to be, because you're following it, as opposed to going a whole different direction with it. You know, like your opportunities will come from that place of passion, rather than going a whole different route with your career, or something that you maybe aren't as passionate about. So even if it's scarier in a sense, I think it's the only option, right? Because like, what else am I going to do? Like go be an accountant? Like I don't like, I mean, that's always my cop out. Like no disrespect to anyone who's an accountant, just like, that's not what I want to do. Right. So yeah, just pursuing it fully, even if you fail, at least you know, and that's kind of, yeah. So I feel like similar mindset on that, but yeah, it's super cool.
And to be honest with you, like even going off what you said, like I have a lot of respect for people that fail, because they've tried. Like I don't respect, you know, no offense, I don't respect people that don't try. I don't respect people that just say, I'm gonna give up. I'm not gonna see what I could do, or, you know, to me, I was listening to a Gary Vee podcast the other day, and he was like, the scariest thing is to think that I'm talking to a room of people where one of you guys could be the best musician there ever was or the best artist there ever was, but you don't try because you're scared of other people and you quit and you didn't fail. You haven't failed yet. The reason you're not getting there is because you quit. You didn't fail. And to me, it's like I kind of want to fail. Like I kind of want to go that far. I don't want to fail, but I want to put myself in a position where like I'm never going to stop just because I didn't feel like I could do it, or I was worried about what someone else thought of me, or what I'm doing with AIM. Like that's not my mindset, and it's never going to be my mindset.
And failure is also a temporary thing, and it's also a thing that happens a lot. I failed. Everyone's failed a bunch in their life. I've failed numerous times, even recently, just getting back to fully healthy and doing things the right way with that. I mean, it's so cliche, you learn from your failures and all that, but no, I mean, failure is essential to growth, and it's essential to, I mean, yeah, same thing. If you're not willing to at least fail, then you're not going to probably be able to succeed. You might be able to, but not probably in the goals, if your goals are realistic and high enough that you're setting. Failure is a big risk, but it's essential to growth. So no, for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, last thing I want to ask you, what are your goals post career? I know you've kind of touched on it throughout the podcast, but more specifically, like, do you have specific running goals, or are you just gonna kind of see where it goes, kind of where you stand kind of at the end of your collegiate eligibility? Like, what are your plans there?
Yeah, right now it is very much day by day, which maybe isn't the most exciting answer. I have a 6 year of eligibility that if I'm not where I want to be at the end of this year, I will most likely use and continue running. I'll also be going to grad school, probably in public policy, furthering my undergraduate major, and looking into real life jobs as well. That's all decisions to be made down the line based on how the next kind of calendar year goes. But at the same time, no, I mean my goal is to be in running, to run as a professional. I think I can. I just need to figure out a way to sustain my health and do things right. And yeah, because I've never lacked in talent in that regard. It's just been something I haven't been able to put together healthy years in. And yeah, that's the number one goal. I have maybe more boring goals, more backup planning goals, but that's the one I'm kind of committing to. And in a lot of ways, I kind of need to commit to with a certain amount of abandon if you really want to achieve it, because there are going to be guys who are at other schools who are doing the same thing and might not have a backup plan like I do or something. So you got to kind of fully commit to making it happen. And yeah, so still a lot open on the table, but I've got at least a couple more years of college if I want it, and just kind of taking it day by day, trying to get back to full health first of all, and then from there look kind of towards the future. But hopefully pro running. There is a pro running scene. I don't know if not a lot of people know that if they're not in the running world, but it exists, and it's based around the U.S. trials every year, the championships. So there's definitely a viable career path in that. I've just got to put in the work now to be healthy and pursue it.
I love that, dude. And I know you will. I know, you'll never fall short of your work ethic and the time and effort you put in. So I'm excited to see where you go, bro. I'll obviously be supporting you all the way. AIM will be supporting you, and, we're here behind you. I want to finish this thing off as we wrap this up. This has been incredible. This has been a really, really good episode. Talk to us a little bit about your podcast, why you started it, what it's about, and what you guys are doing. I'd love to hear.
For sure, man. So I'll just give like the bird's eye view of it to start. But I have a running podcast with Grant Fisher. He ran at Stanford for 2 years. We were teammates. He now runs at Nike Bowerman Track Club, which is, he's a Nike athlete based in Oregon, and he trains with Bowerman Track Club, which is the best track club in America. He won NCAAs at Stanford. He was kind of the chosen child in a lot of ways. Like everyone's like, man, Grant's gonna really be doing it. And he's delivered on that so far. He made his first Olympic team in the summer in the 5,000 and 10,000. And then he was fifth in the 10,000 at the Olympics, which only, I think, 4 top 5 in the 10K. In the Olympics, and that's gone the last 100 years. So just an absolutely incredible achievement from him to do that. He was also top 10 in the 5K. Is arguably the best distance runner in America right now. He's on a very, very, very short list if he's not number one. And he's like freaking 24. So, you know, I'm boys with him, and we would talk after his races a lot. And I got the idea actually from a golf podcast that I listened to with this guy, Max Homa and Shane Bacon. And it's a very similar dynamic where there's like a pro and then a guy who kind of picks his brain. And, you know, Grant doesn't have a huge social media presence, and neither do I. And we're not very good at kind of that, or the interactive components of that. And I was just thinking, like, man, this dude, I know Grant, he's a great guy. He's funny, like all that. He's, you know, like very, very good at communicating. I think he'd be a great podcast host. And also he's potentially the best runner in America. So I feel like there'd be kind of a market for that kind of content. So yeah, he ran the #1 American 10K time in 2020 in like March, and in 2021, I guess. And I called him up and I was like, hey man, like, how was the race? And we talked about it. And then he gave me like the full rundown. And I was like, dude, like, I have an idea. It's kind of crazy, but what if we kind of broke this down in like a podcast fashion? And he was a little bit like miffed at first. I don't think he's not big into like clout stuff or, you know, like doing things for kind of just like clicks and that kind of thing. But when I explained what I had in mind and how it'd be kind of a deep dive, more of like a journal than like something clout chasey or memey, I think he was super into it. A lot of the running podcasts that are out right now are way more based on getting like a soundbite of someone having beef with someone else, or just like talking shit just about like this, that, or the other. And that is something that we really don't necessarily want to do. We don't have any interest in like building. We want to be genuine, basically. So when he realized he could trust me and we had a good dynamic anyway, we bought microphones and transitioned it over and just have been doing it once a week, every week since. We've taken last 3 off actually because he's on vacation at the end of the year, but we're going to restart again soon for the fall. Yeah, I mean, the idea was, hey, let's start this thing in March, and then either you make an Olympic team or you don't, but either way, that's something, right? Either we chronicle your failure and you can talk us through it, or you have the success and it's incredible. And it's funny, he's had just a ton of success in the last like 6-8 months, compared to maybe his first year as a pro where he was faced with more adversity. So we kind of missed that adversity. But the cool thing about running in a way is that adversity always comes back around. And chronicling his journey, as well as to a lesser extent, but still somewhat mine, because he's the pro and he's the reason people are tuning in for sure. It's been really fun. And yeah, we've added elements. We now do these like race recaps where we go back over historical races, and as like experienced runners like you guys, like people will watch on YouTube, and we kind of walk them through like, this is what I would be thinking, this is an interesting move of the race, this is that. And obviously his own race recaps when he races. And then yeah, just gotten some of his teammates on as guests. It's been a really, really fun time. The truth of all of it is, like, when I wanted to do it because I figured if I talk to Grant once a week, that will make me a better runner and a better person. Seeing how like the best runner in America moves. And I tell him that and he thinks I'm joking, but real talk, at the end of the day, that's what it is. And I figure let's record it and we'll put it out for other people too. But it's for me as much as it is for anyone else. So yeah, I mean, he's a huge talent. If I had a co-host who was like 80% as charismatic and 80% as fast, I would still be like, this guy is sick and I should do a podcast with him. But he just happens to be like a good down to earth dude and also the best runner in America. And so it's a pretty freaking good, it's a good combo for me. I just want to get the most out of him and help him like kind of tell his story. So similar to kind of what we got to do today. So yeah, definitely listen to it. It's the Half Step Pod, in addition to listening to the AIM podcast. Yeah, it's on anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, just Google it or find us on IG. Yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing.
Dude, I love it. I think you make a really good point. Like the reason a lot of people get into podcasting is not for the cloud, or, you know, to obviously you want to provide good content for the listeners, but like I personally get so much out of having different guests on, just picking their brain. Like this episode's been incredible, especially for these next few months as I get into
as you train. Yeah
right. But no, I personally just enjoy it, and it's been a blast, man. It's been good to catch up with you, man. I'm so excited to follow along your journey this year at Stanford and see how you crush it, man. We'll hopefully have you rocking some AIM gear soon.
For sure, Doug. Yeah, for sure. And we'll have to stay in touch about this marathon as well. I want to come back on and analyze it with you afterwards.
Oh gosh, yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, I'm not actually. I'll tell you something offline. We'll wrap it up here because there's something else going on. But guys, this has been awesome. Connor, thank you for being on the AIM podcast, man. It's been a pleasure, and it's been just super great reconnecting.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks, Doug, for having me.